Hello, my name is Michelle Logan. Through one man, sin entered into the world, and death through sin. Romans chapter 5, verse 12. To set us free from sin and death, Jehovah arranged for Jesus to provide the ransom. But how could the sacrifice of one perfect human redeem millions of people? Apostle Paul explains, just as through the disobedience of the man Adam, many were said sinners, so also through the obedience of the one person Jesus, many will be made righteous. Romans chapter 5, verse 19, and 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 6. In other words, it took one disobedient, perfect man to cause us to become enslaved to sin and death. Therefore, it took one obedient, perfect man to set us free. Could Job have simply decided to allow right-hearted members of Adam's offspring to live forever? To imperfect humans, that would seem to be the kind and reasonable thing to do. But it does not take into account Jehovah's perfect justice. Because Jehovah is just, he would never choose to ignore Adam's glaring acts of disobedience. So I'm going to read Romans chapter 5, verse 19. But just as through the disobedience of one man, many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one person, many will be made righteous. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 6, who gave himself a corresponding ransom for all. This is what is to be witnessed in its own due time. Let's summarize the article. How could the death of one man lead to the redemption of millions of people? The ransom teaches us about Jehovah's justice. Let's consider, from disobedient Adam, we inherited sin that leads to death. To set us free, sin and death, Jehovah arranged for Jesus to provide the ransom. But how could the sacrifice one perfect human redeem millions of people? Paul explains that the one man, many were made sinners, so also the obedience of one person, Jesus, many will be made righteous. In other words, it took one disobedient perfect man to cause us to become enslaved to sin and death. Therefore, it took one obedient perfect man to set us free. One man caused us to become enslaved to sin and death. Correspondingly, one man set us free, and one man that set us free is Jesus Christ. But Adam and Eve caused us sin and death. Did Jesus really have to die in order to save us? Can Jehovah have simply decided to allow our hardened members of Adam's offspring to live forever? That's why Jesus came to earth and sacrificed his life for us. But that's not taking account Jehovah's perfect justice, because Jehovah is just.